What is going on, everybody? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what's been kind of going on with me as of late. About a week ago, I just lost my job. So I was an assistant manager at a gas station, and I lost my job. I was called in to have a meeting, and basically I don't want to get like too into it, but basically I got let go through a car scam happened on my watch. So take that for what you will, but I've really been like I've been processing it, and it's definitely was a shock. I remember knowing about this meeting, and I had no idea what this meeting was gonna be about. And I remember my wife asked me, like, "Are you worried about the meeting?" And Jean was like, "No." And then when I pulled into work, it was last Wednesday. At the time of this was last Wednesday. I was like, I prayed, and I was like, "Lord, let your will be done in this meeting." I have no idea what this meeting is about. And then I see my district manager, and I see my manager, and then they pull me into the meeting, and lo and behold, a car scam, a gift card scam happened on my watch, and basically they let me go. Like I said, I don't want to get too much into it, but today I was running errands. We was running errands, and I was just thinking about all the jobs that I got let go from, all the jobs that I was fired from. And I want to start with, I worked at Whole Foods for 5 years, and one of the things that, and I got let go from Whole Foods in 2017, and one of the things that the Lord reminded me of was the fact that, like, I idolized that job. Like, working at Whole Foods, I thought, I said this, like, oh, this is a culinary playground. And at the time, I was really pursuing being a chef. And I was really, like, enamored with the atmosphere, the environment. Even the people that I worked with over those 5 years were really, really cool. But at the end of the day, 2 years prior, I've mentioned this before in a previous video, or like a short form video, but the Lord was nudging me to leave 2 years prior, and I was scared. I was basically like, what? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? And I was trying to hold on for as long as I could, but then I ended up getting let go. No, I hadn't had any like write-ups, no issues, and then come to find out, I had an argument with a coworker over dumping trash and dumping, like, we had this buddy system. To put long story short, we had this buddy system where where the garbage was too heavy, we just carried it. 2 people just carried it out together just to make it easier. So, and she really wasn't complying with that at the time. And then this whole argument happened, and things spiraled, and I got let go. But keep in context that the Lord was nudging me 2 years prior. So me getting into or having an argument with a coworker, it doesn't seem like a fireable offense, but at the end of the day, it was my fear and my disobedience which allowed that to transpire. So, and then moving on to, I worked at this place called Eden Supportive Living. It was pretty much like it's kind of like a nursing home, but it was really for those who had like disabilities or the supportive living. It wasn't a nursing home, but it was kind of like people who had special needs, but it wasn't like it wasn't like, how can I put it? It wasn't for people who were like autistic, but it was just for like people who had special, like, it was supportive living. It was for people who could not live by themselves or whatever case. I was a dietary aide, I was a server, I was a cook, and we did things in a restaurant setting, or we served breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we did snack trays, we prepped, we did the dishes, whatever. I was only there for about a year, and then I remember being so sad working there. I was really not in the best place, and what I learned from that job, and I was only there for a year, and we had planned to go on a family cruise, and I had put in a request to go, and at the time we fully didn't have the funds to go on the cruise, but the Lord made a way. And then around the time the way was made, the Lord made a way. I took the request down, so I denied the request. And then the Lord made a way. So my fear and patience and my just like anxiety around it was just like, oh shoot, I need to go put the request back. So then, not even like a day or two, I was like, okay, I put the request back, and they were like, oh, we already took it down. So it's just like, well, if you took it down, then we're not gonna approve it. But I'm like, I figured it out, so I just want it back, put it back. So I end up going on the cruise, and I remember right before we went, I was at my cousin's house, and I remember my wife pulling me to the side and was like, Lawrence, I need you to believe God with me, because like we were so excited for this trip. Like, it was my first ever cruise, and for a lot of us it was our first ever cruise, first like going overseas, being in another country. Like, we hit Jamaica, Curacao, Aruba. It was a beautiful trip, one of the best trips I've ever gone on. And what that job showed me was the fact that I needed to trust God, even in the midst of sadness, and even in the midst of not being okay with where you are, and not being like happy with your current situation at that time in 2018/2019. And I was just really sad at the time, and I just wasn't a big fan of being at that place, because I was still kind of grieving the fact that like a few years prior I lost my mom, so I went down this mass spiral during the time. Like, my mom passed away in 2015, and then I lose my job 2 years after that, and then I'm still kind of like, I hadn't fully processed, so I went down this massive spiral. And I think I was picking myself up working at the supportive living job, and I was really trying to like pick myself up. I was angry with God because I felt like He took my mom, and I feel like she should have been here for at least another 30 years. But when the Lord calls you home, He calls you home. So, but then COVID hit. Still out of a job, and then I remember the Lord telling me, this was July 14th, 2020. I remember I was living with my mother-in-law at the time, and we were living with my mother-in-law, and I remember at the time, like, I was really having I was just having a frustrating moment, and I'm like, man, like, I was trying to find work, and it's COVID, and only essential jobs. Like, that whole moment, that whole time, COVID was crazy. But then we were really into trading and day trading and things like that. And I remember this is one of the few times I heard the audible voice of God. I heard him say, "Why are you waiting on another stimulus check?" Because during COVID we were giving stimulus checks. So, and then there was rumors, there was conversations about having a third or getting a second. And I heard the Lord say, "Why are you waiting on another stimulus check?" And at the time I was working at the time, the gas station was 2 minutes from where I was living at. And then I applied and I got the job. So the first 2-3 years I'm just working, and then I get promoted to assistant manager. And then in 2023 I got let go because I had sold an age-restricted product to a minor, and it happened during the company that I worked for did like these routine sting operations where they make sure that that we're doing this, basically like a compliance check to make sure that like we're carding people, and we make sure that we're not selling age-restricted products to minors. And it just so happened that day I had sold, and I wasn't paying attention, so I ended up selling that car. I ended up selling the age-restricted product to the minor, and then I got let go. The first time, the first stint, because I'm gonna get into the second stint like in a bit. The second stint is basically me. What the Lord was showing me was that I needed to pay attention to details and like kind of navigate the pressure of being in leadership, and I think that's kind of one of my takeaways from that stint, from that season. And I feel like even in being in leadership, you have to like uphold certain things. There's a standard, there's expectations that are on you, there's responsibility that's on you. And yeah, I just feel like it is we have to uphold, even in any leadership position, you have to uphold certain standards, because people see you as the model. People see you as the person who's gonna uphold the go-to person. So that was one of the things that I learned from that. And then I ended up working at Chick-fil-A for 9 months in 2023. And that's where I was in my UNC season. I was UNC. Working at Chick-fil-A was really, really interesting, because with my experience, they were looking for me to kind of like take off, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't find my footing at Chick-fil-A. I felt like the old guy. I felt old. First time I kind of felt like I kind of felt that way, in a sense. Like I felt old. I felt like I was trying to catch up, and I think it was because I was surrounded by so many people that were younger than me, people who were like in high school, going off to college, and I was really unk, you know what I'm saying? Even though we get, you know the term unk is more of like it's a term of endearment that like, it's that term of endearment, but it's like modern terms where it's like, oh, you unk, you know what I'm saying, you the older guy, or you know what I'm saying, but and then I kept thinking like, I'm literal, so it's like I'm an actual uncle. I have nieces and nephews, so it's like, duh. But I get the modern terms. However, I wasn't a good fit. At the end of the day, I got let go. I got let go for what I literally just said, what they literally told me. I remember, like, it's so crazy because I remember the morning of, I took a nap. I decided to lay down and take a nap, and I remember getting a text message from one of the kitchen managers like, "Oh, can you come in a little early? We want to, you know what I'm saying, have a meeting with you." And I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't even really think nothing of it, so I kind of took the nap, set my time, cool. But then I had a dream that I was walking into work, I was going into work, and I couldn't get in. I remember seeing one of my coworkers, I see like the front of the Chick-fil-A running normally, but I had no access to the back. I had no access. It was like these steel barricaded doors, and I had no access. And I just thought that was the weirdest thing. And then when I woke up, I was like, okay, like, well, what was that about? So, basically, when I got called up to that meeting, they were letting me go. And the manager, her words were, "Yeah, you're not a good fit here. We were looking for you to kind of like take off and step up to a leadership role, but you know, they just felt like I wasn't a good fit." So, I feel like with that, take away from that is like, hey, you're not gonna fit everywhere, and that's okay. You know, you don't have to feel old. You don't have to feel like the old guy. You don't have to feel like the unk. And even though you may be perceived as that, like, you're still here for a reason. You're still here for a purpose. God has you here for a reason, so He's not done with you. It doesn't matter how old you are. And so yeah, and I kind of took that in stride. So, and then in the process, 2023, trying to go back and trying to like find another job. I made the decision to go back to the gas station job, and I was able to come back. So yeah, these past 2 years that I worked at the gas station again, really, really interesting, because I feel like this was a second chance, you know, at just being better or growing. But I always felt like in the back of my mind, I never want to do this for the rest of my life. I didn't want to work at a gas station for the rest of my life. And this is no shade to anybody who does or anybody who sees retail and convenience as, you know, a career. Hats off to you, you know. However, I really feel like, you know, there's more to there. For those that are watching this video, at the end of the day, we really have to seek the face of God and really ask Him what the assignment is, because that's literally where I am. It's like, okay, Lord, what's next? You know, and not only that, you know, I want to make this video. I wanted to make this video as an encouragement, because it's not over. Life does go on, and even when I'm like, man, like, y'all fired five different times, and twice with the same job, and I've been in those moments where I'm like, man, God, why? But it's not like not God, why me? More like, Lord, what do I need to learn? And really, I pray that whoever watches this, sees this, finds the peace in knowing that even though situations may not play out the way you want them to, but my hope is that, like, God will show you what to do. And not only, even during this time of not having a job, I kept feeling like this time is different. And how can we move forward instead of like, yes, you're gonna go through the 5 steps of grief. You're gonna go through those moments. You're gonna go through those frustrating moments, those sad moments, those discouraging moments. Even last night or earlier this morning, I started thinking about everything, and then I ended up having a slight panic attack as well. So, and I had to give that to God too. So it's like, at the end of the day, all things work out. They will work out. I don't believe that. I believe that this moment right now is to kind of regroup and really hone in on what the assignment is. Hone in on what God wants us to do, or wants me to do, and for you, whatever God wants for you to do, let's move forward in what He wants. Whether it's find another job, start a business, start a YouTube channel, stream, whatever God is calling you to do. My prayer, my hope is that we will just faith around and find out what that is. And I feel like that's what this video is really about. Faithing around and finding out, really digging into the why it happened, more so than why me, or why it's happening to me. But I also just want to take this time to say that it could be worse. it could be worse. It could go way worse. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna, bring this to a close, because I don't want this to go super, super long. And I pray that there was some encouragement here, and there was, and my heart goes out to anyone who has lost their job at the time of watching this video. If you, and I thought about this too. I feel like I'm not the only one who probably lost their job today. Pretty sure there's somebody that's lost their job, and I pray that this video reaches them. I pray that, like, even if you applying to jobs and nobody's called you back, we gotta keep moving forward, because, and I'll leave it with this: seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and I will be added unto you. He knows what you need. He knows what I need. He knows what you need. And there's always a ram in the bush. So if you found this video encouraging, please like, share, subscribe. I am hoping that I will have the opportunity to make more content like this, to be more encouraging, and even look at my channel, shout out, but not shout out, but I also post a lot of short form gaming clips. I love gaming too. This channel is kind of created to talk about faith, talk about gaming, talk about all the things that I like, which is faith in life and video games. So, and I pray that God will be glorified through these means. So, as always, grace and peace.